I'm Pam Roper, and excuse my mask if you can't hear me. I'm here at McClellan Ranch Demonstration Garden. This is the Master Gardener area. There is a bigger area as you scan and look around with 112 beds, and there are 6 ADA beds. In our area, we have 5 6 by 16 foot beds. Our total area is roughly 1,800 square feet. We got this about a week ago. We weeded and we have the beds set up. We have a soil test coming. We don't know the results of the soil test yet. We will, and then we'll know what our amendments should be. So for setup for this irrigation system, what we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that we demonstrated that you can have a efficient drip system where you can decide when you want the water to actually come out. And so the way that the beds are being set up, just to let you know about the watering time, this is bed number 2, and it was set up to run at 6 in the morning on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and it goes for about 50 minutes. This is bed 1, and this is bed 3. These were set up for exactly the same days, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, but instead of 6, they're 5 a.m. and running the same amount of time. Beds 4 and 5 are going to run at 4 a.m. in the morning. So we have 4, 5, and 6 a.m. So we're not all running the same time. The reason we did that is because we figured out the evapotranspiration rate of the soil and the climate, and we also looked at shade and calculated that, and we thought that running, as everybody should, their irrigation system without the sun up is the best way to do it for evapotranspiration. We also calculated the amount of minutes based on that as well. So that's why we have the times that we're running. So here is how we got the bed. We got it with a water spigot on a 4x4. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to have the ability to be able to split off from that hose bib and have an irrigation system and the ability to either shoot out some water into a bucket or set up a hose system like this. From that, you get your timer. This is essentially your on and off switch. This allows you to set up the days that you want, and it turns it on and off so that you don't have to be here, you have your timer. We changed the assembly down here the second time because, and the reason that this is here, you could actually screw right into here, but this is for strength and it's also for length, because what we have is a tolerance of about 17 inches per here. Not all the beds are the same. Some are 17 and a half, some are 18, and one's 19. So we wanted to have a system where we could do that. And what we do to create that difference in space is we add more PVC down at the bottom. So after that, after this strength, and as you see, I don't know if I could get up closer, each of these are attached with Teflon tape. And we've wrapped Teflon tape a couple times around each of the threads so that we have a good tight seal so that we don't have any leakage. We had some leakage at the beginning, but then we realized you have to really crank down on this so that you don't have leakage. After that is a water pressure and filter combo. The pressure part is in here. This is the filter. You take the filter out. We're going to do that a couple times in the first month and see what we get in terms of sediment and mineral deposits. We're not going to flush this with a hose that wastes water. We're going to put it in a bucket. We're going to swish it around, and we're going to clean it that way so we don't waste water, and then we can water plants after that. These are replaceable if you need a new filter. And from that, then we get an adapter. We have a female with a slip so that we can put PVC down in here, glue it in, and run our lines. Okay, I'm going to continue now with the actual assembly of the drip system on this bed. I want to just describe that I told you what this component was, this system. You can see we've got a hose hooked up this time. I also want to show you that this is Netafin. It's at 6-inch drip, and it's 12 millimeters. So it's roughly, is it 12 or 17? I have to go back. 12 millimeters. So it's just under a half-inch tubing. So anyway, the way this is set up, I have some tools. I actually have my wire cutters out, but you can use your actual bypass pruners or any kind of cutting device that you need. I've got a set of pliers, and that'll come in handy in a second. Remember I discussed that there was this connection here that you're going to add PVC to? So depending upon how you want to get this to the soil line is how long this PVC is. And you have to account for it to go into the slip on each one of these. So here's an elbow and it's going into that. It's glued in here and here. And then we have a small spacer that's about 1.5 inches to bring this first, what I'm going to call a T with slip and a threaded top. Into that goes the Netafin connector. So that's connected with Teflon tape screwed in, and then it's got a compression fitting. And that compression fitting goes into a tube like this of Netafin. So what I found when it goes in here is that you've got to cut, and I'm going to show you, you've got to cut because there, around where the drip hole is, there's reinforcement. And that reinforcement is around the hole. So you have to cut before or after it when you're doing this. And what I found when you do this is you want to take about 1.5 inches before the hole, and this is about 2 inches long, so that you can fit in the compression this way, and then you can put in what is called a flush valve. So we put a flush valve in on the other end, and this allows you to turn off the water to a particular line so that you don't have to run water if you don't have a plant there or if it's winter and you're not doing something. After that, we run roughly, I'm going to say it's about 15 and some odd inches of the Netafin down, and we continue that. What we found with the PVC in between, this is 1/2 inch PVC, schedule 40, it's about 12.5 inches each one of these pieces to make it work out evenly. And we kept a little space down at the end. You can do 12.5, 13, 12.5 seems to be about right. Do the same thing with the gluing. You want to glue the PVC in here, glue the PVC in there, and set it up like that. Run the Netafin here, and then put the flush valve on, and run it to the end. After we run each of the lines and do that, we were trying to measure about the same distance. So having your tape measure out is really handy for not only this length, but as well as the length here. But you really don't need it for the length because after you get going, it pretty much says itself. So these, as I said, are about 12.5. Now, we run this down all the way. We use staples intermittently. I think I was about 6 per line. And then we get down to the end. And you want to make this, come right to the end because you're going to bend it over. And the way that I do it at my house, and we've done it here, is we put a piece in here, we start wrapping. You've got your pliers, and you squeeze it together, and then I've got my cutter over there and I cut it. And that's pretty much the setup.